It is another Monday, another After Action report. Hello, welcome, the numbers show that for all the matches here in the Schmoedown that keep you caught up in all the action. I just screwed myself up on that intro, but it is fine because I am here with Nat. Always enjoy being with you on a Monday afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Megs. 3 matches this week, but a lot to talk about. This past week was brought to you by the letter C for controversy.
Yes, absolutely. And there will be some things that I'm going to be bringing up that beg the question, do you agree? Hence the title there on the video. But before we get talking about all the controversial stuff, let's just see exactly what it is we are going to be talking about this week. So we had 3 singles matches this week: Ben Goddard versus King Khan, David Del Rio against Frank Moran, and The Barbarian versus Drew McWeeny. And we have something special to talk about today. We are going to be looking at the physical versus the digital wheel when it comes to spinners and opponent's choice. That has been a big topic of discussion over this past season, and we are actually going to break it down and talk about it, as well as talking about that lovely challenge that happened earlier in this week, and also talking about all the different things that we are seeing and what some of these matches may mean for the future of some of these competitors. If you guys are joining in live, welcome. I see Ben Rainer's here hanging out with us. Always great to see you. Danny Cost, always good to see you guys in here. If you are interested in donating, please go ahead and use the Streamlabs link, which is down in the bottom of the description, or probably closer towards the middle there. But there is that, as well as super chats if you so desire, but Streamlabs is the better alternative there. But Nat, without further ado, anything that you were super excited to see leading into this week?
I was excited to see me finally get some fantasy points on the board, where I finally had a player to play. I was also very excited to see King Khan play. This is my favorite part. Stop doubting Asian players. I had to say that. Get that out of the way. But I was really looking forward to this match because I feel like Ben Goddard is a type of player who doesn't get talked about as much, but he's such a good player, and I don't think his skill set really reflects his record. Does really reflect his skill set. So I thought that was a very compelling matchup. I mean, this was a quietly good week, I feel like.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and cut the chit chat here and just jump right into our first match of the week, where we had Ben the Bandit Goddard going up against King Khan from the Den and Finstock Exchange, respectively, where coming into round 1, we saw Khan being up by 1, 9-8. Khan, both of them going perfect in the round, but Khan able to take advantage of that bonus point. Thus, he is able to be up by 1 moving into our second round here, where we see that Khan decides to spin first. That is kind of a trend with a lot of Finstock Exchange rookies. They like to spin first. He decides to take Pixar on his first spin, and he sweeps the category, the full 8 for 8. Nat, what were your thoughts going into this round and Khan deciding to go ahead and go first?
I thought it was a really good strategy. I think that most people would prefer to go second just to see what's on the board after it's all said and done. But I feel like we talked about this on AAA Live a lot, like strategy players versus momentum players. I think there is a lot to be said for momentum players, and I would love to hear more of his insight on why he chose to go first. But what I really want to talk about is how Ben Goddard spun opponent's choice, and King Khan gave him movie release days, which I think was the absolute right thing to do. I think that category is tough for anyone. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Scott Mans. I don't care if you're Ben Bateman. That category is like 50-50, whether you knock it out of the park or not. And against someone who is as good as Ben Goddard, I feel like that is a relatively safe bet to pick, at least compared to other categories. So it was definitely a veteran move for him to give movie releases. I think that was a very good strategy.
Absolutely. And speaking of Goddard's spin here, yes, he does spin his opponent's choice on that first one. He has given movie release dates where he's able to come away with 4 out of 8 available points, where he checks down to multiple choice once, but gives up that multiple choice check down for a steal, as well as 1 2-point steal. So not only was Goddard having a little bit of trouble, but Khan was right there to pick up the points. So that is also the big thing too, the idea that Khan not only gave Goddard a category that was going to be tough for him, but also one that Khan was able to pick up steals off of. And that is the ideal situation when you're dealing with opponent's choice in this game. So with the scores breaking down, again, Khan coming out of 8 with 8, Goddard coming out with 4, giving up 3 points worth of steals. That gives Khan a gain of 4 points to now be up 8, 20-12, going into our third and final round of this match, where Goddard does manage to avoid the TKO by hitting his 2, 3, and 5-pointer in comedies, Tarantino, and family films, respectively. So no more ticks in the TKO column for FinStock Exchange on this one, but it does come back over to Khan, who hits his 2 and his 3-pointer in new releases and Tom Cruise, respectively, which does give him the win with a final score of 25-22, where Ben Goddard answered 13 of 16 questions for 81% accuracy and scored 82% of 27 available points. And King Khan answered 17 of 17 questions for 100% accuracy and scored 100% of 25 available points. So looking back over this match as just in general, Goddard is not able to get a break this year in this season to get back into the momentum that he had coming into the league last season. Whereas King Kong is getting all the momentum this season, continuing to perform at a high level here in his rookie season. Nat, what else did you think coming out of this match between these two competitors?
I mean, like I said, it's a very intriguing matchup because early on last year, there was a lot of talk about Ben Goddard being Rookie of the Year. He was that hyped up. Like he's won matches in 3 divisions. So I think that was definitely warranted. I think we talk a lot about how we have in the past about how spinners and opponent's choice really affects the match, and it affects it less than you think. I think in this particular match, this is what won King Khan the match. Ben Goddard spinning opponent's choice. Because if he had cleaned up in round number 2, then who knows what could have happened. He could have forced King Khan to answer his 5-pointer, and 5-pointers can be really difficult. So it definitely, I think definitely this match came down to round number 2. I think it was just a matter of luck. I think Ben Goddard did everything he could in round number 3 to make Khan answer questions, and Khan just answered all of them right. So there's really not much you can do when you're down by that much and your opponent just doesn't miss.
Absolutely. And that same idea of when your opponent's going perfect, what else can you do? And again, the idea that Khan was able to pick up those steals in movie release dates really helped him to extend that lead. And time will tell whether this young man turns into be a prodigy of movie release dates as well. He seemed very confident with those answers that he gave on the steal opportunities and the post interviews as well. So we shall see what happens. Very interested to see where Goddard goes from here. I think he just needs to keep grinding at it. He has shown that he can win matches. He can perform well inside of teams as well. So see if he can have a match or two break his way as the season progresses on. But as we progress on into this week, we are going to take a look at one that I was really looking forward to. Diamond David Del Rio going up against Frank Bam Bam Moran from the Dungeon and Swag, respectively. Again, this was one. Del Rio was a competitor that I was very excited to see make his return back to the league based on his performance last season. Had some change in management. Originally, he was on the Den, as we just spoke of. He was dropped by them and then picked up by Kaiser and was able to get this match where, coming out of round 1, we see Del Rio up by 2. 8-6 coming out of that first round. Again, perfect round, but he's unable to hit the bonus, so he only has 8 points coming out of that first round. Then we move into the second round, where Del Rio decides to defer over to Frank, who spins away from Robert Rodriguez, ends up spinning opponent's choice, and is given Anne Hathaway, where he is able to come away with 4 out of 8 points, checking down a multiple choice once, and similar to Ben Goddard, he gives up that 1 multiple choice point steal as well as a 2-point question for a steal, giving Del Rio 3 additional points. And then Del Rio does his spin, and he takes Amy Adams on his first spin and also sweeps this round for a full 8 out of 8. So almost mirror matches actually in round 2 for these compared to the previous match, which is kind of cool. So this now gives Del Rio a gain of 7 to be now up 19-10, going into the third and final round, where Moran hits a 2-pointer in Oscars, but misses a 3-pointer in Black Cinema, which does give Del Rio the win via TKO with a final score of 19-12, where David Del Rio answered 14 of 15 questions for 93% accuracy, the only miss being the bonus question, and then scored 95% of 20 available points, where Frank Moran answered 9 of 14 questions for 64% accuracy and scored 55% of 22 available points. Again, I was just excited to see these guys get to play again. They both had some good potential and good promise coming into these matches. Nat, anything that you want to add about these two?
Yeah, it's definitely been too long, and you know how I know it's been too long is when Kaiser cut his promo and called him Frank Moo Moo Moran. I actually thought that was his nickname. I was like, it was his nickname Moo? Is that right? But yeah, I mean, it's super great to see these two come back. I think Kaiser said it best that it doesn't really make sense why Del Rio was dropped and no one else picked him up. Like, I think we saw last season, he went to the limit. He took Chance Ellison to the limit, and Chance is one of the best players in the league. So, I mean, it's kind of baffling to me that he fell all the way to the dungeon. The rich get richer in this match, and I feel like he should be talked about more. Like, Del Rio is so good, and I think he proved it in this match. I think Frank Moran is no slouch, but I think he was up against a really game Del Rio here, and there's really not much you can do.
Absolutely. And thank you, Danny Costa, for reminding me. Be sure to check out Live tonight. We are actually doing this show before Live, so I get to throw to them for later. At 11 o'clock tonight, we are actually going to be doing an interview with David Del Rio over on that channel, or here at this channel, 11 o'clock Eastern tonight, 8 Pacific, to talk about his matches and to talk about his career as a whole. So be sure to check that out and hang around this channel for that. Should be a really exciting and fun interview to have. But that is all we're going to talk about on this match specifically. So we are going to move into our third and final match that we're going to talk about this week, one that's going to be very interesting. The Barbarian against the Godfather, Drew McWeeny. This was a match that when I saw it on the schedule, I said, this is going to be a tough test for both of them. Barbarian hasn't really gotten a chance to play much this season. He had a Intergeekdom match earlier against Alex Damon. McWeeny is just getting his feet back wet into the league from being retired for a significant amount of the past couple seasons. So this was one that was going to be very interesting to see, and it does not disappoint, starting with the first round where they both come out tied 9-9, both of them getting the perfect round plus the bonus. So no real surprise here. Nat, were you surprised at all to see this?
No, not even a little bit. I think this is the caliber that I expected him to play. I think McWeeny didn't have the best showing in his first match this season. I think he needed to get his feet wet a little bit, and I think this match really showcased how good he can be. And Barbarian's amazing.
Absolutely. And we're just going to continue on here into the second round where Barbarian decides to spin first. He is considered the higher ranked competitor, so he was able to make that decision and decides to take Robert De Niro on his first spin, where he sweeps the round. Again, not surprising, for the full 8 out of 8. we go over to Drew McWeeney's spin, where he spins away from courtroom and legal thrillers and ends up taking DreamWorks Animation, where he ends up being able to pick up 6 out of 8 points, no multiple choice knockdowns, but does give up a 2-point steal that Barbarian was able to pick up. This was interesting that he did not check down to multiple choice. Perhaps he felt confident enough in his answer that he didn't want to risk checking down, but that was a little bit of a misstep there on McWeeney's part, which will play into what happens later on down the line, where before we jump into that third round, Nat, anything else you want to add about this round?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it was a misstep because I don't think that was a very good guess from Drew McWeeney's part. I think it was a Shrek question that did him in about who I forgot the phrasing of the question, but who like did something.
Basically, who tricks Shrek into wishing himself away in the third or fourth film.
And if you've even seen a second of the Shrek movies, you would know that Donkey would never do that. Like Donkey's a good guy. So I feel like he definitely should have checked down on multiple choice. I think he's still taking time to get into the groove of the game. I definitely think that was a mistake. I don't think that's a mistake that he should learn from. But I also think it's interesting that he spun away from courtroom legal thrillers, because I think he knows that when you're playing someone as good as Barbarian, you want to hit a category that you feel absolutely confident in. And so with that thought process in mind, I think that was a good move. I was a little worried him doing DreamWorks Animation, because that could be a tricky category. But I mean, he does have kids, so I feel like he navigated that category well enough that it still kept him in the game. So those are my thoughts.
Absolutely. So with the check down and not with the check down, but with the steal opportunity, this puts Barbarian with a gain of 4 points to be up by 4, 19-15, going into the third and final round, where we see McWeeney hit a 2 and 3-pointer in Julia Roberts and Westerns, respectively. Westerns being where that challenge kicks in. I will save my full discussion on that towards the end, but essentially we had a challenge that was discussed. Initially, his question was ruled incorrect. It was overturned, and he was able to stay in the game, and it bounces it back over to Barbarian to hit a 2-pointer in Disney, bounces back over to McWeeney to hit his 5-pointer in 2010s, and it's now left to Barbarian to hit a 3-pointer in 1990s, and he misses a 5-pointer in musicals, which does give McWeeney the win with a final score of 25-24, where Barbarian answered 16 of 17 questions for 94% accuracy and scored 83% of 29 available points. Drew McWeeney answered 15 of 16 questions for 94% accuracy and scored 93% of 27 available points.
Mm-hmm.
So very similar as far as accuracy, both of them only missing one question inside of the entire match. Just unfortunately, Barbarian's one miss was a 5-pointer, which was very unfortunate to see there. But kind of going back over to, to this third round here, the idea being, had all things being equal, but McWeeney not getting the Westerns question overturned, would have given Barbarian the win even with his miss in the 5-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
It would have still remained close, but it would have ultimately resulted in him being able to win. Now, what I will say about this challenge, having read through the rulebook multiple times, Andrew Guy, who was the person on the desk for this match, made the correct ruling by the letter of the law. However, Sam evoked the spirit of the law in his challenge, and there was no counter argument from Ty Lieberman, who was the stand-in manager for Gucci during this match, or Barbarian that would given them sufficient information to further emphasize that the original ruling should have been maintained. I will not say anything about whether or not that match that should have gone either direction. I would have been happy with either one of them winning. at this point, there is no instant title ramifications for this match. So you're not looking at, well, this went this way or this way. They're going to have a much easier road to the title. What it does do is this is going to set them up for where they're going to end up inside of the tournament. So this, the result of this match is going to be the groundwork for some very interesting narrations once we get into tournament season. Nat, did you have anything else that you wanted to add about this?
I have a lot I want to add. I think I disagree with you. I think this match had huge implications in terms of Natty's fantasy team, and I was very happy.
And
with
there it
result,
is.
But I'm sorry. I have to bring it up. It's in my contract. But I think it's a very tough call to make. I haven't studied the rulebook inside and out, but I'm worried that this sets a precedent. Like that's the dangerous aspect of it. But I feel like a simple way to solve it would be to require saying final answer after every answer. But I don't know. It's such a complicated issue that I feel like it's just so disheartening if you're like Barbarian and you get every answer right, and then your opponent challenges that in that fashion, and then you miss your one question and it happens to you for a 5-pointer. I think that's just so heartbreaking. But that's the way the game goes sometimes. I mean, there's bound to be controversy. There's bound to be challenges. So very interesting match to talk about, and I really hope Barbarian bounces back because he's a lot better than his record.
Absolutely. And the rule that I specifically cited and found is that a competitor needs, if he's going to correct an answer, if someone is going to correct an answer, they have to do it with it instantaneously or within 1 second of giving that answer, which there was a longer pause before McQueenie changed his answer. Where it gets tricky is that McQueenie won, or that the question was that John Wayne won that Academy Award for portraying Rooster Cogburn, but Rooster Cogburn happens to also be the name of the sequel. Right. So that's where I think things got a little bit murky. But again, kudos on Sam for jumping in and for presenting his case and fighting for his competitor.
I'm going to turn it back on you for a second. Do you think Gucci could have challenged that better than Tyler did?
I don't know. I really don't. I would think he would. I don't know how effective he would have been, but I guarantee you he would have said a lot more. Because Barbarian essentially left it up to the judges. Ty didn't know anything, and I don't expect him to. He is a rookie. He wasn't told that he needs to know this rule book inside and out when you're acting as a manager. That's kind of not been what's expected of him, apparently, up until this point. So I think that definitely was a little bit of a disadvantage there, where I think everyone there understood. If you know Drew McQueen, you know that he actually knew exactly what the answer was. He just gave the wrong information and the wrong answer to what was being asked, because he gave the character name versus the actual title of the movie.
It's tricky because clearly he knew what the right answer was, and there was no indication from the announcers that he made the wrong answer call. So, I mean, I'm glad I'm not in that position, and I'm also glad I'm not in Tyler Lieberman's position, because could you imagine your first time managing and this happens? Like, I would not want to be in that spot.
Yeah, I would not necessarily want to be up against Sam on the other side of a challenge. As much as I enjoy a good argument and a good throw the rule book at them situation, it definitely was a tough situation to be in for sure. But again, I still stand by. This is going to be more a determination on where these guys go as far as the tournament goes, because I would be hard-pressed to believe that these guys are not in heavy contingency or high consideration to be in the singles tournament, and this match will ultimately make a difference in where they land as far as seeding goes. So that is where I see this match having implications into the rest of this season. Sound off in the comments if you want to throw in a Streamlabs donation or throw in here in the chat what your thoughts are about that. Again, I understand the letter of the law that was properly followed by Andrew Guy, but I also understand the argument that Sam made for his competitor, as was his right to do. So ultimately, there was a group of people that made the ruling and decision on that, and time will tell what that means for the rest of this season. But without further ado, due to another hot topic of conversation, what in the world is going on with the digital wheel? So this is my compilation of everything from season 5 to season 8. So we're talking about 2018 to the present. We are looking at just singles play. So thinking about all the singles matches that have occurred, both in studio, live events, and in the new digital era. We are looking at a total of 187 total matches with 378 total scores or competitors, which I will break this down a little bit better once we get going on. But we look at what this physical wheel is doing, and we're going to kind of highlight here. Within 98 matches utilizing the physical wheel, again, in studio and live events where they have brought a physical wheel to that location, there have been 37 matches, or 38% of the time, when spinners or opponent's choice was in play. So either somebody spun opponent's choice or someone spun spinner's choice. And there was only one match where we had double spinner's choice. So 1% of them had spinners and or opponent's choice together. And then if we switch over to the digital wheel matches, which again, the new digital era, as well as every time that they ended up using a digital wheel in a live event, we had a total of 89 matches, which, just to highlight this, very interesting. Between 2018 to the middle of 2020, we've had 98 singles matches. Between the middle of season of 2020 to now, which has been a calendar year, we have had 89 singles matches.
Yeah.
Only 9 matches less in 2 seasons versus only 1. Cannot tell me that the Schmoedown is not upping their game as far as increasing their match frequency. It is crazy. But anyways, looking at the number of matches that spinners and opponent's choice was in play in the digital wheel era is only 33 matches, 37%. So there's not a significant number of times that spinners and opponent's choice has been a factor inside of matches. So if you're looking at the percentages, 38% of the time in a physical wheel era, the spinners and opponent's choice is in play. You're looking at the digital era, it's still only 37%. So there's actually a decrease in number of frequencies, very marginally, that spinners and opponent's choice is in play. However, where it gets interesting is when you look at the individual scores. When you look at the physical wheel, there are 38 occurrences of spinners and opponent's choice. So like I said, so that's 19%. We had one match where we had double spinner's choice. So when you're looking at the physical wheel, you only get spinners or opponent's choice. You rarely get both. There was only one match where you had double spinner's choice with the use of the physical wheel. Right. In contrast, you look at the digital wheel across 89 matches again, we had 46 scores of the 178 scores or competitors that are utilized during this era, to which you had spinners or opponent's choice in play. So that's 26% of the time you have a competitor spinning spinners or opponent's choice, where there are 10 matches out of 89 where you had both spinners and or opponent's choice. So you had 4 instances of where one competitor spun spinner's choice, the other competitor spun opponent's choice. 4 instances where there were double opponent's choice, and 2 instances of 2 spinners' choices. Now what that means, or what this application is, we're not necessarily seeing that the spinners and opponent's choice is showing up in more matches, because it's 37 versus 38% at the time. However, When you do hit spinner's or opponent's choice, you are more likely to end up with both competitors getting it. So 5% of the time more, you end up with spinner's or opponent's choice inside of a match. And you also are seeing these multiple instances of 10 different matches where you had both spinner's opponents, opponents, and spinners. So that is the difference. While we're not necessarily seeing affecting more matches statistically significant, it is statistically significant that if you get it in one side of the match, you are more likely to get it on the other side of the match.
Yeah, that's really interesting because we talked about this before we went live, and I wanted to have my reaction on screen to like what it was. I would not have expected this because my initial.
What were you thinking?
What I was thinking was it feels like we get spinners and opponent's choice more because we have more matches and matches happen more frequently. It feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect because now that you mention it, I do remember a lot of instances where both players get opponent's or spinner's choice. So that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. So roughly about a quarter of the time, you are seeing, so 46, a third of the time, actually, 33 matches versus 10 matches, 33 total matches involving spinners and opponent's choice, 10 of those are doubles, either spinners and opponents or double opponents or double spinners. So I think it's going to feel like we have spinners and opponents so much more often because they are happening in pairs.
Yeah.
If you see opponents, we had 4 instances of where it's opponents and opponents. Twice, it's spinners and spinners. 4 times, spinners and opponents. So it's becoming more likely if you see one, you will see it either a second time or you will see the other one inside of the digital wheel matches. But we're not necessarily seeing it statistically significantly affect more matches throughout the season. And it's absolutely true because of the more frequent matches that we're having to have a higher volume of matches inside of a shorter period of time. It feels like you're having a lot more. But based on the numbers, the number of matches it affects is the same, but we are seeing them clumped together more with, again, those higher instances of having matches with both sides of the game being affected by spinners and opponent's choice.
Really interesting.
I thought it was very interesting. I went on a little rabbit hole earlier today. I was like, I need to just figure this out because Frank mentioned it on the rundown last week. I caught some of that and said, okay, let's actually dive this in because earlier in this year, Nat, you and I looked at how spinners and opponent's choice could affect the outcome of a match.
Right.
But we didn't as much talk about physical wheel versus digital wheel if there was a significant difference. So now we know.
Now we know. That's what you tune into the show for interesting facts like this. It's
Absolutely.
Very fascinating.
Yes, and I will be posting this graphic probably tomorrow. We're going to be busy getting ready for live tonight, 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern. Don't forget to tune in there for our interview with David Del Rio. Super excited to see what he has to say and get to hang out with him for a while. I will not be there. I will likely be asleep. But be sure to tune in. Billy Belford and Alex will be hanging out with him and whoever else decides to hop in there. Nat, what else is going on the channel this week?
I will also not be on call live. I'm busy tonight. But you can catch me tomorrow on Twitch, twitch.tv/call to action. 6 Pacific, me and Dylan Camacho. We talk about anything you want us to talk about. So come hang out with us. And also, there's still no plan for No Chill. So go check out the old episode, and there will be one eventually.
All right, sounds good. And before we head out here, I do want to catch. I am so sorry. Ben Rayner put in a generous $14 Streamlabs donation here. And he asked, do you think that there should be a rule about no rookie being a fill-in judge? I feel like maybe a rookie hasn't had enough experience, in my opinion, but maybe I am wrong. So the ruling on who can be a sit-in manager has changed throughout the season. I don't necessarily feel like there should be a rule against it, because you can have a rookie that has a really good head for the rules and a really good head for being that voice of reason inside of a match. So I don't think there necessarily should be a rule against it. Do I think that was maybe the wisest decision? Probably not. Unless he was the only person that was available. We don't know what the circumstances are behind that, but that is my thought on that. Nat, do you have any other thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't think being a rookie should limit you from being a manager. I think that's really up to the faction. I think if it's not the best decision, then that's on the faction itself. Like I think that they should be free to have whoever they want as fill-in managers, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So
Absolutely. And I'm really hoping, just going back to that match in particular, I hope that both of these competitors learned something from that experience. Definitely McQueenie from maybe slowing down a little bit when he's answering questions so he doesn't put out wrong information. He had repeats. He could have repeated the question to make sure he knew exactly what they were asking for. And Barbarian could have fought for himself. I think he was a little taken aback by the fact that there was a challenge being thrown, so he didn't have any words to fire back. But just like there are competitors that say don't leave a board blank, don't leave a challenge unchallenged. Even if it's something silly, say something.
yeah.
As someone who's been involved in competitive trivia and where those types of things can be in play, that's always been something that even if I don't have a really good reason, if I have the opportunity to say something, defend yourself somehow. But anyways, that is enough of the controversial conversations. If you want to get into more controversy, check out Twitch Tuesday. You guys tend to jump into the deep end. Hey, that was a beautiful setup. I had to take it. I'm sorry. But anyways, that's going to be all for today. Be sure you come back later on tonight to catch on Call Live, and always catch back next week, 4 Eastern, 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern, for After Action Report, so that you can be caught up on everything that's going on. We're going to be careening through the rest of this season. It's going to be just a continued ball of excitement for the rest of this season. So for the whole Call to Action crew, I'm Pegs, this is Nat, and this has been After Action Report, signing